Arrest this juvenile menace. This is my first post here, so I want to take the time to tell everyone a little about me. I am a retired paramedic. I was actually in basic EMT school, EMTB. The way I accomplished dual enrollment was because my grades were good enough to prove I would graduate high school, as you have is he at least 18 years old to be an EMT in Georgia. My birthday is in January and the school started on January the 5th. EMT school at that time was a 6 months long class 2 nights per week. Of course I graduated high school and the next week I graduate and EMT and everything is going as planned and did for the next 26 years. Now, for one of the many stories I will share in this sub as well as others I will have to match the sub will match the subject. I just had awoke after my grand total 4 hours sleep from my 24 hours shift of work. Need I even mention that I wanted to go home, but first I had to make a stop at People of Walmart store, as I am 99% positive my local Wally World is where that title was coined from. Heck, while on shift, we'd make stops in there after midnight just to see the finest of fine store patrons, to have a contest to see how many of our local city's finest was actually sober enough to stay between the aisles without taking out the pyramids of canned goods at the end of each one. We even wanted to see just how many females could fit a pair of yoga pants on and see just how many camel toes was possible in one pair of pants. In Think 6 was the record, nauseated face vomiting. Sorry to sidetrack, however, it is part of the story, in a way. I walked in the store, still in full uniform. The uniform was easily confused with a police and security guard's uniforms, as they were navy blue shirts with a badge, ID tag on a lanyard, French blue pants with navy stripes on the pants legs and duty-type work boots with zippers on the sides. We were often confused for police officers. I was on the dairy aisle, with my buggy, getting some milk before heading from the back of the store to the front to finish my row-by-row shopping method. I got my milk and was about to push my cart on to the next stop, the ice cream freezer, then the expectedly unexpected, if that makes sense, occurs. The start of the Queen Karen of blue hair story is like this. Now, before she made it to my aisle, I have to admit, I did hear some arguing the next aisle over and muffled yet still audible speech about get me that bag off the top shelf. Then in a more demanding I told you just simply get that bag for me and you get, and I am not asking so nicely again. Now, what sounded like two younger boys mentioned to one another, who does this old geezer thinks she is? Then a response from the other boy, have these blue hairs forgotten how to ask? Yeah bro, all the old bitch had to do was ask. I suppose they intentionally said it loud enough for her to hear, and here we go, y'all, forgive me, as I usually type with a Souther drawl, as well, being from a very rural area of the West Georgia area, I hear none other than the Karen of the Walmart I demand that you help me theme song in my mind. Those people too young to know who George of the Jungle is, please look it up, as the theme song is a parody of the song, You There. There were several others around me, so I thought nothing of it and continued shopping. Again, as I stopped to get eggs, she says it again, are you ignoring me or just ignorant? I need your immediate assistance. I looked around and had to ask, are you speaking to me? She says in a condescending voice, well, you are the only security guard I hear, so yes, I am talking to you and I need to stop pretending like you are shopping and kick these juvenile delinquents out of this store. I reply as tactfully as a tired man just trying to get the hell in. Get my items and get out, you can't be shopping, you are the security guard on duty, so quit playing and get those obnoxious and rude children out of this store. I told her again, I am trying to show. Karen says, very angrily and aggressively walking at me, you either help me, you lying bastard, or I will have you fired and banned from any job in security you will ever. Things went downhill as rapidly as Clinton's pants under the Oval Office desk from here on out. My sleep-deprived and normally calm, cool and collected demeanor was spent. I'd had enough. My parents have never spoken to me this way, and I was actually taught not to do what was about to do, so forgive me Mom and Dad. I told her, with my deep, resonant daddy voice, as my wife calls it, I do not work here, woman. I have tried on 3 prior occasions but you keep running your mouth and never allow me to. She attempts to interrupt but I stop her. She starts with no you why. I throw a hand up right about 6 inches from her face and say, see, there you go again. I suppose you were going to say you have never been spoken, so consider this the first truth that others have been too afraid to do. Again, I do not work here, I just got off my 24 hours. and drove 35 minutes here from a long night of dealing with Karens with far more issues than the issue you want me to assist you with, and I be damned if I'm going to put up with it from you for free. I barely get paid enough, deal with it while on duty. Why don't you find an actual security guard here? I'm a medical professional, you have them assist you with whatever irrelevant cause to have in your twisted panties at the present time. Now, leave me the hell alone, I want to go home. I left her pale as a sheet and made it far enough away she had to tell back, you just go ahead and leave and never think about coming back. I know the manager and he finds out there will be hell to pay. Now between the time hell and pay were spoken, I was struck with a small bag of powdered sugar that hit me and exploded all over my uniform. I have to admit, that was one heck of a shot from one end of the aisle to the other. It didn't hurt, just made one male of a hess. The manager now has heard what was going on, ask me what happened. Karen saw him approach and came down the aisle like Bruce Jenner. Not the confused Caitlyn but the fast athletic one we got used to seeing our Wheaties and Olympic triathlon champion boxes, and immediately tried to butt into the conversation the manager and I had started. She would get her turn. The manager told her we're talking and he would get her chance. Karen went ballistic. You are already taking his side. He assaulted me, as well as the two other hoodlums that harassed and make fun of me for being old when all I wanted was help. Now your security guy was very rude to me and I demand that he is fired and never gets a job in security again. The manager let her speak and we did not interrupt, and then I gave my side of the story. I pretty much told him everything I overheard that later today to the boys, and then how she began to be so rude to me even after I told her multiple times or tried to when I can get a word in edgewise that I did not even work here. I told him he may want to check the security footage because if she touched those young boys in any way as well as her hitting me with the powdered sugar that I want assault charges pressed upon her. By this time she is trying to make her way out of the store, but the manager radioed the true security and had them stop her until law enforcement could arrive. When I made it to the front and she was being put in handcuffs, she was still crying and with her quivering voice was still being Karen when she yelled to me, "My husband is your local megachurch pastor and I promise you, he will make sure all of you rude liar burn in hell," after the way she was treated. Labor to say I am a Christian and I know that I am saved by grace through Jesus Christ and there's nothing her husband can do to have that taken away from me. However, is it not in God's word that those that bear false witness have broken at least one of the 10 commandments? Not only that, well, that doesn't take him, but the day she goes before a secular judge and see how many of those 10 commandments are commuting into years. Wholesome little story. So I had just gotten off from work as an RN in my blue uniform, and me and my husband went to the shops to go and get a few things. I have a particular grocery store that I usually go to shop because I used to work there and know where to find most things. Their uniform is red. On this day we were in kinda a hurry because we needed to be at a family event in an hour, so I was very confidently wandering the aisles grabbing everything we needed when I nearly ran straight into a very lost-looking older man. He looked at me in my uniform and asked hesitantly, "Do you work here?" And I responded with no, "But I used to, can I help you find something?" And he told me he was looking for the golden syrup and had found maple syrup and honey in different aisles but not the golden syrup. I explained that the golden syrup was in the cooking section whereas the maple syrup was with toppings and lead him to where the golden syrup was, right on the top shelf. He was quite appreciative and said I could easily go and ask for my job back, and we had a laugh, then finished our respective shopping. It's not super long or entertaining, but I thought it was a pretty good guess for him to pick the ex-employee out of the crowd XD. The owner of my work pulled the "I don't work here lady" on a customer. So I used to work at a bar. The owner was an ass, but he great to work for. He was a super alcoholic and a great tipper. He had been permanently banned from every other bar in town, which was why he bought the bar. He had a policy that if he was drinking he wasn't the owner, so if he got out of hand we could throw him out but not 86 or call the cops on him. Now I also would like to add that all he did was sign the checks. He had nothing to do otherwise with the day-to-day of the bar other than drinking. One morning I was opening the bar and typically the doors are unlocked an hour before we opened, so regulars could come in and drink. They knew the bartender would be cleaning and stocking the bar and would just deal with small wait times to get a drink or refill. The owner came in and didn't want to wait for me to come out of the back, so he went behind the bar and made himself a drink. He then went and sat at the bar, put money on a rubber mat. When I came out of the back with a few cases of beer, I hear a woman going off on someone who I found out was the guy who signs my checks. She was going off about how horrible he was for drinking on the job and refusing to make her a drink. He simply told her he didn't work there and went back to his drink. When she saw me, she immediately started complaining about him, saying she wanted to speak to the owner or manager. Since I was the only one there, I told her she'd have to deal with me. She went on her tirade about him needing to be fired and then demanded a free drink for his rudeness and unwillingness to help her. I told her that wasn't going to happen as he didn't work there. Then she decided to take it up a notch and said she knew the owner. Cue typical "you'll both be fired" rant, and the owner is shaking his head laughing, which made her madder. I called her bluff and told her to either shut up and order a drink or leave because I have things to do. She got huffy and then demanded a tab, trying to hand me a credit card. I informed her we were cash only, but she was welcome to go pull money out of the ATM near the bathroom. That didn't make her happy, so she decided to stomp out of the bar, saying she'd take her business elsewhere. The owner then asked for my keys and promptly locked the door behind her. As soon as he did that, he came back and said, "I've never met that woman, so you're definitely not fired." We had a good laugh. She did come back about 20 minutes later because there wasn't another bar open and got super pissed when my boss waved and went back to his drink. She banged on the door for about 5 minutes. He then made me a sign to put up on the glass door with the bar hours, and she got in her car and sped off. I luckily never saw her again.